The biggest, most important, critical news of the last 2 weeks is that this news show finally got a proper name. From now on, it's called mknews, and that's officially the first episode of mknews. AWS makes CloudFormation stack creation up to 40% faster. In the previous episode, I shared that, based on one survey, 86% of the companies are using CloudFormation as a primary infrastructure as code tool. I personally think that CloudFormation is a complete garbage and it's extremely painful to use, but luckily, now I will spend 40% less time going through the pain of creating infrastructure with CloudFormation. Apple in talks to let Google's Gemini power iPhone AI features. So Apple is in a tricky situation because they don't really have a built in-house solution for AI on the same level as OpenAI or Gemini or basically any other company that builds and offers LLMs as of today. So the only way for them to offer something in the new iOS and iPhone releases is to partner with other companies. So they're talking with Google to offer Gemini, and they're also talking with the Chinese Baidu to offer the AI in the iPhones on the Chinese market because they can actually offer Google's Gemini on the Chinese market. State of DevOps Report 2024 is live. State of DevOps Report 2024 is out, and I highly encourage you to read it because that's probably the most important report you can read about the trends in the industry of platform engineering and DevOps. This particular report is fully focused on platform engineering, and there are a couple of highlights that I found there that I'd like to share with you. First one is that 50% of respondents are telling that they see increase in productivity when using the internal platform, which I think is a bit misleading because what does it mean an increase in productivity? There is no concrete answer what productivity means in this case, so I would actually prefer the survey not to have this option and force people to answer in a more concrete terms, like platform lets me to decrease the lead time to resolve incidents, or speeds up how fast I can deploy stuff. And all of these questions are also in the survey, but then there is also this placeholder answers that, yeah, you can increase productivity, which I think is just too vague to be a useful metric. The second point is that 52% of the people say that having a product manager in the platform team is a must, which I totally agree. And also 41% of the respondents said that one of the challenges they have is how to properly listen to internal users to understand internal needs. You need to remember that platform and platform engineering is about building a product for the users inside your company. So you definitely need an experienced person that understands how to build products and how to gather internal feedback to build this kind of product for your developers and other people in the company. I also would like to remind you that we have 2 excellent episodes of our podcast DevOps Accents with 2 super experienced in platform engineering people from Allianz and AWS. So I'll leave the links in the description. Make sure to check them out. The third point that I found fascinating is that only 22% of respondents actually use Kubernetes in production, and 46% of respondents said, yeah, we actually don't even intend to use Kubernetes, which I find interesting because for many people, platform engineering happens always on top of Kubernetes. And well, actually, no, you can build internal platform on top of any kind of open source technology, container runtimes, and cloud services from AWS, Google Cloud, etc. It does not have to be Kubernetes, and in many cases, you should not use Kubernetes. It will just make your life miserable.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go, generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.
Next point is that costs are clearly still underappreciated. They are not part of the platform engineering in most cases, even though 18% of respondents said that it should be part of the platform engineering. I am a big believer that as long as you're running something in the cloud, the cloud costs are part of your architecture, so they go hand in hand, and how you design your applications in the cloud directly affects the cost and vice versa. And if you overpay for something, that's a clear sign that you should also optimize something on your application side or your infrastructure side. So I fully agree with the idea that the cost management should be part of the internal platform engineering efforts. And finally, a huge topic in this year's report was security. Everyone understands and admits that security should be part of platform engineering. Platform should help as much as possible with standardizing, like on access controls, on vulnerability findings, and container scans, security scans, active threat detection. All of this should be in one way and another inside of your platform, and everyone already understands this and either already built this into their platform or plans to build in it into the platform. And that's for my highlights. And talking about security, the next piece of news is actually pretty scary. Backdoor found in widely used Linux utility targets encrypted SSH connections. So the thing is, one guy noticed that his SSH connections are taking a bit longer than usual, and SSH uses a bit more CPU than expected. And during the process of reverse engineering and figuring out what changed on his system, apparently the compression library XZ was updated to the new patch version in the latest Edge releases of Fedora and some other distributions. Luckily, this update did not reach production versions of any distribution, so it's not in the latest stable Ubuntu or Red Hat release. It's only this couple of like latest Edge distros like Fedora. And the scary part is that the person who introduced this vulnerability was a maintainer of this package for 2 years straight. So it's not some random guy making a mistake. It's actually someone who was taking care of this package for 2 years and then intentionally built a pretty scary backdoor that affects any Linux system that accidentally updates this package version, which makes you think how many maintainers out there maintaining all the popular open source packages and distributions are sneaking in this kind of backdoors and vulnerabilities. Because, at least from my side, I often assume that if there is a security issue in an open source tool, it's simply because maintainers don't have time or there is like a bug in the software. But apparently there's also a case when there is someone working intentionally on open source with these kind of evil intentions in mind, and even spending 2 years to submit some patches only to at some point hijack and build in this horrible SSH backdoor that makes every Linux system in the world potentially vulnerable. And we still don't know what kind of other issues this guy committed into this code base in the last 2 years, because he got caught with this latest patch. But again, it's been 2 years of committing changes to one of the most widely used packages out there. World's first Neuralink patient is able to control a computer and play games just by thinking. So Elon Musk's company Neuralink tested their neurochip on a disabled person, and this guy is actually able to control his computer with his mind. So he wrote that he spent like the whole night playing Civilization 6, which is a big breakthrough for this kind of neuro implants. And of course, there are two kind of scenarios where you can use it. There could be some cyberpunk-like and Black Mirror-like developments in this direction, where corporations control your mind. But we also need to think about all the benefits where actually disabled people or people, impaired in a way that this chip is highly beneficial for them. For them, this is a game changer, right? Because if you're not able to use a computer, and now thanks to this chip you are, then it's a big change for you. And it's a big change for many people with disabilities in the world. Simplify cross-account access control with Amazon DynamoDB using resource-based policies. So this is something we should probably cover in one of our articles on the website, but there are two types of policies on AWS. There are identity-based policies where you say this guy is allowed to do X, Y, Z, and there are resource-based policies where on the resource directly, like in the 3 bucket, you say only these 5 guys or 5 systems are allowed to access this bucket. So it's just you put the policies on the different sites, either closer to identity or closer to the resource itself. And the problem with Amazon is that not every service supports resource-based policies, and it's important to support them because they allow powerful cross-account and cross-region scenarios. And now finally, DynamoDB, one of the oldest and most popular services of Amazon, also got support for resource-based policies. So now you can use them cross-account, which would save me hours of time last year, but unfortunately they only released this in March 2024. AWS announces a 7-day window to return savings plans. So savings plans is when you say, I would like to pay this amount of money every hour in return for the discount on my AWS compute resources. I made a whole video just about this topic. Please check this out. It's just a 5 to 6 minutes video explaining how this works. The minimum term for savings plans is 12 months, like 1 year. So if you purchase it, that's it. You will be paying for this for 12 months straight, even if you don't use computer resources. And it could be that you misclicked in the UI, or you just miscalculated how much you want to spend to the savings plan. And now AWS generously gives you 7 days to reconsider your purchase of a savings plan and just say, no, I made a mistake. I don't want this savings plan actually. Redis adopts dual source available licensing. There are many news and noise around the Redis license change, even though actually it's something that happened many times in the past, and it's always the same story. If you have an open source technology that is owned by a company, in this case, company is also called Redis, and this company is making money on reselling this open source technology as a managed service. At some point, the company decides that they actually don't want to share or give away for free the open source technology to, for example, AWS, because that's also what AWS is doing. They take many open source projects, package them as a managed service, and sell them to their customers without sharing any revenue with the authors of the open source technology. That happened with Elasticsearch, and what's curious with Elasticsearch is that AWS just forked Elastic a couple of years ago and added all the paid features inside the fork for free. And now when you use Elasticsearch on AWS, it's actually called OpenSearch, and Elastic company does not get anything from this. That's something that will probably also happen with Redis, and because couple of days since the announcement, AWS forked Redis, renamed it to the Volkey, and made it part of the Linux Foundation. So now we have a completely, again, open source Redis-like memory store that will get all the features and the financial backing from the big tech companies, because Linux Foundation is huge. And the Redis company, well, let's see how they survive. In the end, you can see that Elastic company is still there. They are still releasing, even though they are definitely not happy with the situation. HashiCorp changed the license for Terraform and other products, and they're still around, even though there is now OpenTofu. As of today, almost no one is using OpenTofu, and we are still using Terraform. So always in these license changes, the individual contributors, developers, or companies that are just using this piece of open source technology for their own infrastructure do not really lose that much, and I would even say they gain, because in this case we instantly got a fork of Redis, and we have still Redis itself, and we have another memory database from Microsoft that they just released that is Redis compatible. So now we have more options and we have more competition. The only companies that suffer from this are the companies who build their own business around offering managed Redis, because now they need to see how to go forward. One option is that they share part of their revenue with the Redis company, because that's what the license says. If you are happy to partner and share the revenue with Redis, then you can still repackage and offer it as managed service. Or they can also fork or redo the offering on top of the Valkey or this Microsoft thing. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please tell us in the comments what other news we missed, or which other kind of news you would like us to cover in the next episodes, because we're still experimenting with this format. We want to make it as insightful and entertaining as possible for you. And our goal is that you never miss an important announcement or important news from the DevOps, cloud, and AI space. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press the like button, share the link to this video with your colleagues so they're also staying up to date with the news. And thanks for watching.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go, generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.